Hello and welcome to Unprofessional Engineering. My name is James.
And you got Luke.
Luke, we're joined by probably our most famous guest to date, Mr. Andrew Anagnost.
I don't know, there's people more famous.
Joining us.
Okay.
You know,
Right.
we're pretty important, but, you know, we don't really count. So, before we get started here with our real heavy-hitting questions, we know that, you know, you're probably not used to being around celebrities like us, so we want to do a little bit of icebreakers to get you comfortable.
A little intimidating.
Yeah, I can imagine as much. So we're going to do a few Autodesk fun facts to see how well you know the history. Yeah,
Okay.
I know. So who is considered to be the founder of Autodesk, along with roughly 17 of his closest friends?
Well, it's Walker.
Very good, one for one.
One for one. So far, so good. What was Autodesk's original name?
Oh man, that was in the Autodesk files, and I know this. And I can't remember.
Marin Software Partners.
Yes, okay.
You'll accept that as an answer? We
do I
have it down.
choice?
Yeah, no, not really.
The Google machine told us that's what
Right.
it was. So,
What were the project names of AutoCAD R9, 10, and 11?
I have no idea.
The albums by the Beatles: White Album, Abbey Road, and Let It Be.
Okay.
Too tough? Okay, moving on.
what company was acquired where the future CEO Carl Bass worked?
That's Ithaca Software.
Very good. What was the project name under which Autodesk Inventor launched back in 1999?
Oh, that's Rubicon.
Rubicon, nailed it.
Wow, he's
And one
killing
more before the lightning round.
What is the most popular STEM podcast run by Autodesk employees?
It has to be Unprofessional Engineering.
There we go.
Very good answer. Very good
there's our
answer.
endorsement.
It has to be.
It is. Lightning round.
Okay.
All about acquisitions. What building tech company was acquired in 2002?
Building tech. Oh, Revit.
Revit.
What was acquired in 2006 with the FBX file format?
That was Maya. That was,
Alias.
Alias.
Close.
Oh gosh.
Often,
Come on, I knew that.
I know
I was
you
part of
did.
the acquisition. I was part of the team.
Often considered the greatest acquisition by Autodesk, what simulation product was acquired December 17th, 2008?
December 17th. Well, 2008. Well, I probably did that one.
I think you did.
So it could have been either Al Gore.
Oh.
We'll give him credit for that. Al Gore. I mean, you got a lot of talent with that acquisition.
okay.
I was going to say the CFD acquisition, but
No. I knew it was Al Gore. I wasn't gonna go with the CFD designer.
Two more.
2011, what website platform where users can share ideas and post DIY projects?
Oh, that's Instructables.
Easy, right? And last one. What giant acquisition went down in 2014 of a UK-based CAD CAM software?
Well, that was Delcam.
Delcam. I feel like you did really well on those questions.
I don't know. I didn't know anything about the project names for the early AutoCAD.
That's fair, yeah.
Yeah.
That's a little
I'm not
embarrassing,
that
but
good
it's
on
okay.
AutoCAD trivia, though.
Okay, fair enough. All right, so moving on to the real questions here. So most of what I know about your day-to-day has to do with Twitter and things that you share out there.
Yeah.
So a lot of this has a lot of current tech outside of Autodesk or even the CAD space. How do you manage to stay on top of these sorts of things with so much going on in life?
Yeah, well, I listen to a lot of books. I listen to nonfiction. I read fiction.
Okay.
Yeah, so I have a commute. I commute on the BART every day. So I have a set of earphones like this on, when I'm on the BART and I'm listening. I'm usually listening to a book, listening to something. And it's also funny too. Somebody told me once, and I won't say who it was, that Twitter was a great way to organize information, and I thought that was the most ridiculous thing I'd ever heard in my life. And now I'm like, wow, Twitter's a great way to organize information.
Yeah.
So I really do curate, what I'm following the most and what I put up at the top of my header, so that I'm reading the articles that are most interesting to me. So I read a lot.
So speaking of that, current favorite book, podcast, like what are you into right now?
I just finished Empty Planet.
Okay.
And I really, really thought that was like a pretty interesting thesis. So
Okay.
Basically, it's done by a bunch of a pair of Canadian, one professor, one reporter. And basically their thesis is the UN's got it all wrong. We're never going to get to 9 billion. The population will peak at just under 9 billion and start to decline.
Okay.
And their thesis was really quite interesting. Now, of course, we'll still be a much more populous planet, but their thesis was really interesting. It was a fascinating book. Just before that, I had finished More from Less, which was by Andy McAvee.
Okay.
Okay, and he's basically taking our more or less better, and putting a bit more of an armature on it. So those are the two that I just finished recently.
Okay.
Excellent.
Science fiction wise, I'm in book 7 of The Expanse.
How much
7.
time do you spend reading? A lot.
A lot. Like I said, I listen to nonfiction.
Okay.
I read fiction.
Okay, fair enough.
Any reason why you listen to one and read the other? What's the thought there?
I think it's really hard to follow dialogue in a fiction book when you're listening to it.
I gotcha.
Whereas it's like really easy to follow nonfiction.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've been listening to the Game of Thrones books just to catch up because, maybe I've forgotten what happened. And you're exactly right. On the plane ride here, I listened to maybe 9 chapters, and I had already listened to probably 6 of them. And I'd forgotten that I did because I can't follow along with it when I listen.
It's easy to get distracted.
It is.
Yeah.
So let's move on to Autodesk University. As you can tell, everyone watching, we're kind of in the setup phase right now. But what are you looking forward to most this year at AU?
Well, so the thing that really excites me is this is kind of our last chapter in the more or less better trilogy. So this is where we're doubling down on the whole concept of better and what it means. And that means there's a new trilogy after this.
Yeah.
So
I like that.
I get really excited about, the fact that, hey, I'm winding down a trilogy.
Sure.
We think we did a pretty solid job this year with what we're trying to tell and how we're trying to bring better to life. But I get all amped up about, now we get to go and start in the next trilogy, which is going to be really exciting for customers because it's going to get more concrete about actually what we're building to make better possible for them.
I'm guessing I can't ask for more details on that.
No, you gotta wait. You gotta wait for the books.
Always trying to get the scoop, but
you
that's
gotta
okay.
wait for the books.
So James and I get the chance through the podcast to speak to thousands and thousands of people each week. So
that must be exhausting.
It is.
It
Really,
is, but it's enjoyable. I enjoy it. So speaking of that, when you're thinking about prepping for something like Autodesk University, we have close to 10,000 people, I think, this year in attendance. And not mentioning any names, I've heard some of our other big presenters, they might get a little nauseous before they speak. What do you do to prepare to speak in front of 10,000 people to get your head in the game?
Yeah, so the night before, I sequester myself. I go hide up in my hotel room. I order room service.
Okay.
I don't go out. I don't interact with anybody. I look at my slides and kind of go through them, and then basically beforehand I just pace a lot.
Okay.
I pace back and forth. If anybody's paying attention, sometimes I'm like off in the darkness. You'll see me kind of like wandering around in kind of a loop.
Okay. And
So
that's
what we
you,
were
that's you
doing-
in your thoughts.
It's just me and my thoughts.
Okay.
Yeah.
Follow up.
But I never get nauseous.
No.
That's
No,
good.
you're always a little nervous, but you want to be a little nervous, right?
I think that's good being
Keeps
nervous.
the edge on, but I've never gotten.
So how
Grow up
much
nervous.
of something like an AU main stage is you've rehearsed it so much that you're kind of ad-libbing it just because you know it so well, or how much of it is you're reading a script? I've never had to present in front of 10,000 people. I'm thinking of the logistics of that.
Yeah, it's an interesting mix. You got to remember, by the time I'm up there on main stage, we've been working on this presentation probably literally 9 months.
Oh, wow.
Okay. Because we start with kind of early design phases, what we're trying to accomplish, the fact that we were the last part of the trilogy, what do we want to double down on, and we kind of have quite a bit of preparation. So by the time I'm up on stage, I'm pretty familiar with the material.
It's ingrained.
All right.
It's like I'm tired of it already.
I still look at the prompters, and I'll sometimes I'll just take the lines off verbatim, but I really don't have to look for a second because I know that sentence. And what will happen, much to maybe to the chagrin of some of the producers, is I will go off script in the middle. I'll just spontaneously.
I'm sure they hate that.
Yeah.
Well, it freaks some people out because they never know exactly what I'm going to say. But you got to do a little bit of that. You got to bring in the energy, but you can kind of get used to the whole thing. I'm pretty familiar with the content by the time I get up on stage.
See, now I'm going to be watching and trying to pick out times when you start ad-libbing versus what was scripted.
It's kinda
See if we can
obvious.
find it. Okay. So let's change things up here a little bit and get back to the software side of things. We just saw that PTC recently acquired Onshape.
Yeah.
What do you think that means to the CAD space?
Look, you know what? That group's a solid group of individuals. They're great technologists, but this whole idea that building, a modeling application in a browser was going to solve some kind of new problem the way solid modeling on a PC did, we never bought that. The cloud is an awesome data layer. I mean, it is the data layer that's going to solve a lot of workflow problems in the mechanical CAD space. But the browser is not a perfect tool today, and probably not for another 5 to 10 years for actually doing design in. You got to have a thick, thin client relationship. And so we took the place that we have a thin client, right? But we have a thicker client too. The thicker client will thin over time, but if you really want to get the most out of this, you got to do what we're doing. And we also chose the strategy that it wasn't just about bringing data to the cloud or bringing CAD to the browser. It was about integrating all of these parts of the workflow in the cloud. And that's really the magic we're doing. And that's why people love Fusion so much. It's like it's everything. You go design all the way to manufacturing. You can work online, offline, but you've got this cloud data layer that solves just a ton of problems that the industry had.
Okay.
I thought when I saw the headline come across, it was like, oh, those guys must be so happy that they're like, finally. Because let's be fair, it was set up to be acquired, right?
Oh, yeah.
Or at least that's
totally.
how I took it.
Totally.
And then, I mean, finally, they must have been thinking years ago it was going to happen.
Yeah, but now that we see the actual numbers, we're like, I can't talk about our numbers.
Sure.
We're in the quiet period for one thing, but you just look at the numbers and you go, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Just kind of like what we thought.
Yep.
So next question.
Needless to say, Fusion's doing a lot better.
Humble brag.
So James and I are old. Well, I'm mostly old.
You're very old.
I'm very old. Simulation guy. So what are your thoughts on ANSYS's acquisition of LS Dyna a while back?
One, somebody finally had to acquire
LS
Dyna.
Yeah.
It was been sitting out there for a long time.
Yeah.
I think ANSYS needed to do something like that to solidify their position in the automotive space. I mean, it's the kind of just kind of like the kind of last piece of the puzzle that they want to put on top of things. I think ANSYS has done an excellent job of gobbling up a lot of the small players out there.
Things that make sense for them.
Right.
Totally. So that space was ripe for consolidation, and that was one of the players that was hanging out there for a long time.
They've been there for a really long time.
So that doesn't surprise me at all, and I think it was a pretty good move.
I had a ton of good experience with Dyna.
Oh, you
Great
did?
tool, yeah.
Good.
So a lot of CAD companies are moving to SaaS and just like leveraging the cloud in general.
Yeah.
So now I feel like that's old news. It's just kind of boring to me. So what's the next big thing that we're going to see in the industry?
Yeah, it's we're talking about the cloud, but in terms of actually doing something with it, I think we've still got a long way to go. So the next big thing is who's going to have the full kind of multifunctional model in the cloud. Well, it's going to be Autodesk, but all right, it's the object-based model that talks to the solid model, that talks to the faceted model, and it doesn't care, what kind of data there is. That aggregates everything up in the cloud, and it's high fidelity, low fidelity, medium fidelity, and it just understands each other.
Okay.
And then the thing that's going to make all of this incredibly interesting and incredibly powerful. Bang! You got
Bang! That's like we added that back.
We're getting some emphasis here. This is awesome. It's kind of like drama.
That's right.
Oh, and it stopped. The thing that's going to make this incredible and powerful is all the machine learning we're going to layer on top of this. This is where that model in the sky combined with the interactivity and the ability for someone to get suggestions, recommendations, and pop-up ideas, or for the machine assisting layer to know exactly when to share a particular piece of information with some other person in the process. This is going to really, really change the way people work. So the cloud is just a platform.
Yeah.
Just like the PC was a platform, just like mainframes were a platform or minis were a platform. It's what you do with the platform that matters, and it's that machine learning layer that's going to be put on top of all this compute that's really going to change the game.
Gotcha.
And nobody's really done a lot with this yet. We've dabbled with it with what we're doing with in construction. And some of the things we're doing, I just forgot the name of the product. Isn't that terrible?
Was it like the plan grid or?
No. Construction IQ.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Jeez, Jim's going to kill me.
I know. we'll crop that part
Yeah,
out.
it's
We can fix it in post, don't
yeah,
worry.
so Construction IQ is a good example of where we're going with some of these things.
So a lot of our listeners are college age. A lot of the emails that we get from people are teachers and students. And you're an engineer, we're engineers. If you had to give some advice to an aspiring engineer, I think we're all engineers who aren't really doing
MEs,
not doing engineering anymore. Like, what advice would you give to that young person? You know, career-wise, maybe what field of study that's interested in this type of stuff?
Yeah, I think the future of engineering in general is kind of multifunctional.
Okay.
I think engineering students have to know more and more about the full cycle of the discipline. You know, the day of a pure mechanical engineer is going to fade.
Okay.
You're going to see the rise of the mechatronics engineer, or actually the full systems engineer, and you're going to see a blurring of engineering disciplines. So, when we all went to school, we all learned a little electrical engineering. You know, we all learned a little.
Enough to be dangerous.
My one EE course that I hated.
Just enough. I think you're going to see engineering curriculums blend a lot more of these disciplines, because so many of these disciplines are going to get automated in the way you actually get information, that people are going to have to start thinking about full-level systems design. And frankly, the engineers in the future that have a little bit of design thinking integrated in their curriculum as well are going to end up in a better position as well. We're just going to see multidisciplinary skill sets merging in the classic engineering framework.
Gotcha.
And I think that's pretty exciting.
Yeah. So we're running out of time here. We're going to get you pulled off a stage here quickly, because apparently you have more important things to do than be talking to us.
I get to rehearse one more time.
Lucky you. So you're a big Elon Musk fan, I'm told.
Yes.
We're also kind of big fans.
Very.
He's probably a big-time listener of the show.
I'm sure.
We appreciate that. But what's something that you and other CEOs like you and myself can learn from someone like Elon?
I think Elon has become a modern master of the mission-driven organization. Right? If you go to companies like Tesla, and it's not, by the way, it's not that there aren't people inside of Tesla that can't stand working there.
Sure.
It's like any company. Or you go to SpaceX, what you find is everybody knows what the mission is.
Yeah.
And a lot of them are there. They're just completely like, this is what we're going to do. You go around SpaceX, they're all wearing the Occupy Mars T-shirts.
Mm-hmm.
They're just full on into the mission of what they're trying to accomplish. And he really puts a focus on engineering to do it. But his mindset's, he's got this. This is an important mindset for anyone in tech to realize. You got to know when you're dealing with an invention problem and a systems integration problem.
Okay.
And I think he makes really intelligent choices about when he needs to invent and when he needs to systems integrate. And this pisses some people off because they're saying, well, he didn't invent anything.
Right.
Yeah, but he put the right pieces together at the right time. And by the way, he invented this. Or his team did.
Yeah.
And I think knowing when something is an invention problem and a systems integration problem is super important, because if you're spending a lot of energy inventing on a systems integration problem, you're probably not moving fast enough.
I also think CEOs in general, they're kind of like really good chefs. They got to take the ingredients and put them together in the right way, because I can make something with the exact same ingredients and it's not any good.
Exactly.
So.
And there is one other thing we can all learn from Elon too. Okay. All work and no play may not be the best strategy at all times. Okay?
That's fair.
As much as I love the man and love the mission-driven missions, the mission-driven companies he's creating, he needs to chill.
Yeah.
All right, and he needs to know when to let go, because I think that that can kind of get in the way of his best aspects.
All right, well, I'm getting the look, which is saying it's time for you to go. But we really appreciated you joining us today, and hopefully we can have you on again in the future.
That was blessed. I'd love to come back.
Awesome.
Why didn't you ask me before?
We were scared.
Oh, that's silly.
I know. We know better now.
All right.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much.
Thanks,
Talk to you
Andrew.
soon.
Bye now.
Bye.